Dr. Shira Bish is a distinguished and accomplished international speaker, author, philanthropist, entrepreneur, and developer of advanced book marketing systems. She's the founder and chief book officer of The Book Creator, who inspires driven speakers, trainers, coaches, entrepreneurs, and business professionals to become an author in 90 days without writing a word. She's spoken on a radio broadcast to over 1 million listeners about her soon-to-be-released biography about the Imperial Wizard of the KKK, Edgar Ray Killen, who ordered the killings for which the movie Mississippi Burning is based, and his black cellmate, Dr. James H. Stern. Columbia TriStar Pictures and Will Smith's production company, Overbrook Entertainment, are currently making the book into a movie within the next year. Wow, Dr. Bush, Miss Shira, you are a force to be reckoned with. That is quite an honor to have all of that happening to you. And welcome to the show.
Thank you, Gail. Yes, it is. It's all very, very exciting.
So share a little bit more about your background and your life. I mean, what is the philanthropy about? Tell us how people can write a book in 90 days without writing a word. Tell us a little bit about everything that you're doing.
All right. So, you mentioned, almost like a force to be reckoned with all this excitement going on. I think it's actually best to sort of start at the beginning, or not even sort of, to definitely start at the beginning. Obviously, I'm sure by now your readers, listen to me, your listeners can tell I'm originally born and bred in New York. And I also lived in Florida for an extended period of time. And over the years, I've watched myself evolve and reinvent myself in the career path I've chosen. And the most important part to me has been I've been very, very passionate in my life in terms of making a difference in other people's lives. And that was how I ended up doing the Book Creator and creating books for people that they could do it in 90 days without writing a word. Now, I follow the old adage from Zig Ziglar that says, if you can get everything in life you want if you will just help enough people get what they want. And that's out of his book or writings called Secrets of Closing the Sale from 1984. And I really, really believe that. And especially when it comes to books, and given your show is about living life without regrets, and one of my favorite movies is obviously Bucket List, all of that ties together because it came to me, it must be almost 10 years now, that people wanted to write a book. And I was doing it for a lot of celebrities, helping them get their book out there. And let's face it, they didn't have time to write. They didn't have time to sit down, nor did they want to, nor was that their expertise. So I created a system with them that has evolved where I take you through a 6-step process, or a 6-step blueprint, if you will, so that people can create their book, not write it, in 90 days without writing a word.
How does words come to the page then?
Oh, that's the fun part. Initially, I sit down with potential authors and initially come up with a concept, if you will, their idea. And a lot of people, whether they're business professionals, executives, speakers, trainers, even housewives, mothers, a lot of people from a lot of different backgrounds and cultures in life approach me to work on their books with them. A lot of times people have multiple ideas of what they want to communicate in their book. I'd like to share one, if I may, so that people can be really clear on how this actually can come together quite easily and without writing.
Sure, that would be great, because I know that people are probably thinking, how does this work? Yes, absolutely.
So I have an existing client, wonderful, wonderful lady from Northern California. And she's African American, and she's been, in her mind, extremely blessed, and she's extremely grateful for the opportunities she has had in her life. And she wanted to write about 3 different things that she's doing, and I'll explain them so that your listeners can have a really good handle on how this work is done. So initially she came to me and said, well, I have 3 books in my mind that I would like to write about. Number 1, I have a nonprofit for women. And what this nonprofit does is provide residents help, as well as for them and their children post-alcohol recovery or drug recovery. And she's been doing it for about 5 years and has been very successful in the Northern California area. And she wanted to share with other African American women how they could build a nonprofit, hence book 2. She also wanted to create a training program to train African American women on how they could create their own nonprofit as part of this book and workshop type process. Her third book was that she developed a second nonprofit for men, again, post immediate recovery, for them to have a residential place and help them get work. So she originally came to me and said, I have these 3 book ideas and I'm going to need to do 3 books with you, and here's where I'm at. And I said, you know what? I have a really great idea. I know your funds are limited. I know you're working on nonprofit scale. I have a really good idea. She said, what's that? I said, let's turn all 3 into 1 book. And she said, how can I do that? I said, very simply. We write the book or create the book in a discussion, in an interview format. Yeah, you'll have some notes put together and we'll work on that in advance, but we'll do everything through speaking in an interview format about the idea of building a nonprofit. We'll showcase the Women's Center as your first case study of how to build a nonprofit for women and their children going through post-recovery. And then we'll show the Men's Center as the second case study in terms of things that you changed from initially creating the Women's Center into creating the Men's Center, and how you had to look at things differently, the questions you had, your experiences of what worked and what didn't, so that you were able to create a more, quote, a more better different second nonprofit. And I said, what we'll do out of that is take that book and create the workshop with the book being the supporting document and resources, so that you could go out and get corporate sponsors to sponsor the workshops under an umbrella of, let's say, an institute or an association. To be truthfully honest, Gail, I was so touched. She started to cry and was so excited that she would be able to have the book within the next 90 days, maybe even 120 days, give or take, publishing time, and get it out there so that people could begin and she could start enrolling people in her program with her soon to be released book. And as a matter of fact, we have a call today, but she shared with me when we spoke about 10 days ago that she's already put notices out for her workshop based on the book we're writing. So here is someone in about 30 to 45 days went from here's a nice idea to actually putting it into practice and having the book be done rather shortly here, certainly by the middle of the summer, if not sooner.
But how about the actual words on the page? I mean, we haven't really talked about that. We talked about the ideas. We talked about what the format would look like. We talked about how to put it together. But how do people, you said without, I think the way we phrased it was that without writing a word. So
Sure.
who gets the words down on paper, and how long does that take?
That's the magic, Gail, and I'm glad you wanted to showcase the answer to that question, because yes, we did take a look at the concepts and the ideas and how we got to that point. I actually alluded to it in the beginning because I said we do it through a speaking and an interview process. What happens is I actually record the calls as we're talking. So as we create the concept, and then we go into what I call the core content, the overall arching and specific ideas that you want to have in the book, the concepts, the key concepts, the topics, subtopics, all that's outlined. And I work on it with you. And then I take you, just like you and I, Gail, are going through this interview. I actually take you through an interview process because I have all those notes, and we discuss them. They're all recorded. We send them for transcription. Once the transcription comes back, we go ahead and have it edited. And then I work with you to make sure that everything is being conveyed exactly the way you want. We then take you and have you work with the publisher in terms of the overall art for the cover, the title of the book, the actual layout and design. And we go ahead and print it. We even get everybody to put we get to get it up onto Amazon, both as a Kindle book as well as a physical book. You can sell it on, my clients sell it on their own websites. They sell it at their speaking events, at their trainings. Sometimes it's included. So it's automatically a revenue producing product / service as soon as it's published. And the best part is,
go ahead.
The best part, thank you. The best part is that prior to the book actually being published, the author can get actually more traction in their marketing and recognition on a soon to be released book versus a book that's already been released.
That's fantastic. That's great.
Yeah, we take you basically from soup to nuts, the entire thing. Even if somebody wants an Amazon bestseller campaign, we offer that as well. It's additional value. It's an additional service we can provide. We have multiple packages available depending upon the size of the book, the content, what your vision is, and I walk you through it. What I find a lot of authors have is this idea of, gee, I want a book. However, they don't know how to get it from the idea to published. And I get a lot of calls from people that say, oh, I've hired a publisher and my contract's almost up and I don't have the content, because they had a belief that if they hired the publisher would help them get the content. And they don't. They only deal in the back end of the book. Once you get
that's absolutely true. That's absolutely true. In fact, I can't even understand how people would or could hire a publisher, because usually you go to a publisher with the idea, or with the chapters and the outline of the book and that kind of thing. So it's very interesting to me